Tonight. Recently we lost, in my mind, a genius, Lorenzo Semple Jr., who was the original screenwriter for Batman. He wrote that pilot episode and several others and was the story editor, script editor on the show as well. Sort of set the tone for the series overall.
He sure did, Ralph. He was the reason I did the show, reading that first script. And I fell down laughing and I loved it, and I said, I can do something with this, and comedically. And he and I became friends. But he was brilliant with that first script and some of the others.
As a new actor, Burt, you probably weren't prepared for some of the craziness they had you doing on the show when you read those scripts. Lorenzo had such an amazingly inventive mind.
Yeah, well, it wasn't the craziness that got me, it was the explosions and third-degree burns. And, in the very first episode, there's a sequence where we come out of the Batcave in the Batmobile. And I remember I was there early, dressed at 7 a.m. At 7:30, they said, all right, Burt, hop in the Batmobile. We're going to film this sequence coming out of the Batcave where you come at the camera, make a sharp left turn, and then the sign goes down and you go over it. So I hopped in the Batmobile and I looked over to see Adam, but it wasn't Adam there. It was another gentleman in a Batman outfit. And I said, who are you? And he said, oh, my name is Hubie. And I said, well, why isn't Adam here? He said, well, because I'm a stuntman. This is a very dangerous shot. Adam is over there having a cup of coffee. I said, oh, okay. And then I started to think about it for a minute. I said, well, wait a minute. If this is dangerous, so I called over the second assistant director. I said, Adam's not in the shot. So we know that. It's because it's a dangerous shot. We don't want to get hurt. I said, yeah, but why am I sitting here? Do I have a stuntman? He says, yes, you do. Oh, okay, well, where is he? Oh, he's over there having coffee with Adam. And I said, well, wait a minute, why isn't he here? He says, well, to be honest with you, we can't use him. I said, why? Because he doesn't look like you. I said, well, why did you hire a stuntman that doesn't look like me? He said, we couldn't find anybody else. So anyway, long story short, we come out at 55 miles an hour. The stuntman did his job. He made that sharp left turn, but unfortunately, my door flew open. Oh. When my door flew open, the centrifugal force threw me to the right. I reached out and just luckily grabbed my little finger around the gear shift knob, which kept me from falling out. Wow. The camera crew was actually knocked over, and it was, stuff was all messed up. But I didn't fall out, but my finger was pulled out of joint, and it was like instantly swollen. So when they ran over to us, they said, Burt, we got to get you to the doctor. I said, no, oh my gosh. I said, this is killing me. They said, don't worry, we'll get you to the doctor just as soon as we get this shot. Well, what does that mean? Well, we got to set up, we got to light it, we got to shoot it, it's got to be right. That was at 8 a.m. and at noon, I left to go to the doctor. And it was that same doctor at the emergency hospital that I saw for the next 4 days in a row. And I'd never been to an emergency hospital. From explosions, third-degree burns. Do you remember the scene with Frank Gorshin in the car when I was actually playing Molly, who was supposedly dressed like me, and anyway, the car was burning, and I'm down at the bottom. Frank Gorshin is the Riddler is on top, and he jumps out safely, and I get ready to jump out, and then unexpectedly the car blew up. It was not supposed to happen. All I remember was I saw that ground coming at my face really fast. Wow. Boom, second-degree burns to the back of the neck. I'm back to the hospital, it's the same doctor. He says, are you accident prone? I said, I don't know, I'm beginning to believe so. But that happened for 5 days, so that's what I remember, and my biggest goal was surviving. That's all I wanted to do.
Do you have any more stories, Burt?
120 of them.
What's your most vivid behind-the-scenes memory of filming the series, Adam?
I could never answer that question, man. No, because I had, every day, there was a vivid memory, believe me. Now, Burt talked about some of the accident-prone problems. The worst thing on the series was Penguin Gas. Yes, because in those days they used colored smoke, with kind of an acrid stuff in it. And Bert and I had to breathe it during those scenes. So every day or so, people on other stages would see the ambulance run by and they'd say, "What's that, Ryan?" "Gee, Mia, I don't know." "Oh, it's Bert and Adam again." So I think that smoke was probably the worst stuff, you know.
And Julie, you always seem to work with the musical guest stars on the series. You worked with Chad and Jeremy. You stole their voices.
Yes.
And you also had Leslie Gore as your sidekick, Pussycat.
And
Right?
Paul Revere.
Paul Revere in the Raiders in the Penguin episode. Yeah, a lot of musical guests.
That was a hot show with, yeah.
You know, there was
Pussycat.
that scene where Leslie Gore as Pussycat introduced herself to me. You remember that?
Sure, yeah.
She said, "Robin, my name is Pussycat, but you can call me Cat."
And I remember what you called her.
Before you were scratched with cataphrenic, I think it was. It turned you evil. For those who remember that episode, there's been a lot of talk about what we're going to see in the episodes. These are all uncut, complete episodes. So everything from the Batman in color logo that comes up at the beginning of the episode to the end where you see, coming next week, King Tut, all of that will be intact, including Leslie Gore, who sang 2 songs on that episode, and we never got to see in animation, in the syndication, the second one. They always would cut it out for time. So now we get to see everything from every episode of Batman, the complete TV series. The show itself has given so much to the overall Batman legend, not just your own legendary TV series, but the character owes so much to the series. For example, you may or may not know that Mr. Freeze, who now, of course, is a legendary Batman villain, never existed before the TV series.
Neither did Aunt Harriet. And you know why they invented Aunt Harriet? Tell the story.
What do you mean, Julie?
Come on, tell the story. Why did they invent Aunt Harriet?
Well, because we're a couple of guys running around in tights and living together in Wayne Manor. And there were certain people who thought that was a little suspect in some ways. But I'll tell you, there have been some really macho guys who wore tights. Look at Errol Flynn, for peace sakes. Look at Daffy Duck. I don't know. But they added Aunt Harriet to assuage or assuage the fears of many people that Bert and I were. It was so silly, so Aunt Harriet just kept her eye on us and baked us cookies.
And more milk.
Yes.
Here's a clip from Mr. Freeze himself. I think this is the late, great George Sanders, who first originally played Mr. Freeze.
Oh, he was wonderful.
He was terrific in that role.
Yeah.
Here's just another example of how crisp and clear and amazing the special effects and the colors and the action are in the brand new remastered complete series.
Uh-huh.